How many people do you know bought a studio that was really struggling, doing about $8,600 a month in revenue, and eventually grew it to the point where it was doing over $58,000 in monthly recurring revenue in just a short period of time? Now, I don't know if you know many people, but if not, you know one now. I got Paul David here from Parisi Speed School. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Man, I've loved watching your journey, and it's been really cool. And hearing about it, Corbin talks about you, Matt talks about you, Tanner talks about you. You've got a lot of respect out of my team, which is really good. But man, you took over Parisi Speed School, this one location. They got 100 plus locations between that franchise. It's a franchise, correct?
It's a license.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they got 100 plus locations. You've got, you had one. That was that one that went 8,600 to 58,000, right? And now you've got, you just acquired a Denver license and a Cleveland partnership. Is that correct?
Correct, yep.
And from what I understand from Corbin, you look for turnaround businesses that maybe are struggling, but you know how to fix them. You come in there, you raise the value, either keep them or plan on selling them down the road. Is that right?
Or at least I keep my eyes and ears open for it.
Keep your eyes and ears open. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I want to talk to you about how you did that. I also want to talk to you about how you took on this challenge that we actually put out, which was get 100 members in 100 days, and you easily beat that, which is really good. But first, before we get into all that, I want to just understand really quickly you bought this not too long ago, this one location. You bought it like 2019. It was October, you said?
Yep.
What'd you do before this, and what made you get into this one?
So what I did before this, I worked in a variety of verticals. I worked in commercial clubs. Did that for quite a while, ran personal training programs, was a GM in a commercial club in a couple, ran a couple of boutique concepts, and then, like I said, had my eyes and ears open. I had a rep actually call me.
Really?
And tell me about this location, and spoke to the owner. And he was actually moving back to the East Coast, and he was trying to run it from back there, and that was just tough for him.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. So you looked at the numbers. You said, I can do this here.
I knew what the numbers were. I knew the Parisi concept. I knew Bill Parisi, the guy that started back in '92.
Yep. I've met him at Ursa, I think, once.
Oh, okay. And I like working with athletes, and felt like this is a really good opportunity for me.
Awesome. When you joined it, was it as easy to flip it and fix it the way that you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, no. So when I took over the facility, I had a full-time job running a different boutique concept. And I thought I could do both, but then eventually that just didn't happen. I was spending a lot more time on this business. And then eventually I just made the jump, made the plunge, and I was doing it all, from sales, admin, a little bit of coaching, but there were a couple of coaches there, and that's kind of how we first started. And then just started building it to the point where I felt like, okay, now I need to do a little bit more for marketing besides just me going out, and got a hold of you guys, and so it goes.
Awesome. Well, what I want to dive into with you is what are some of the biggest changes or impact or things that you've made that had the biggest impact, so that anybody watching, anybody listening goes, I could do that. Oh, that's a great idea. I should have thought of that too. Okay. Before we do that, though, I just want to know from you, what is Parisi Speed School for everyone listening? Like, what is this concept?
Parisi Speed School focuses on working with youth athletes. We start as young as age 7 all the way up to 22.
Okay.
And they were, if I'm not mistaken, they were the first concept to actually start working with youth athletes dating back to '92.
Okay.
Bill Parisi was a javelin thrower back in the 80s, traveled the world, was looking for a great concept, or he was just looking for help to help him personally. And found out that the way they did things in Europe back then was a lot different. Their gyms were open. They had medicine balls. They were doing plyos. So he brought a lot of that back here, and then eventually opened up this concept, and that's how it took off.
Awesome. And it's a really cool concept. I remember when I talked with Bill about it, I was actually really intrigued. And then when we got to meet with you, you were the first one we worked with in the concept, which I thought was really great.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to dive into some of the biggest changes you made in sales and the marketing. Before we get into all that, though, for everyone watching, everyone listening, if you like this episode, whether anything we've already talked about or what we're about to talk about, which is about to get real meaty here, make sure you like this video on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, please leave us a review. We occasionally actually like to shout out your reviews, so we'll shout out your name here on the show. Also, if you're on YouTube, leave a comment. We'll actually like to hear from you one of two things, possibly both. One, what was your biggest takeaway from this episode? It helps us know more of what our audience is looking for. And number two, if we're not giving you in our show what you're looking for, which I'd be surprised, but let us know what you want to see more of. More about retention, more about sales, marketing, whatever it is, any issue you have, and we'll bring people on the show that actually have mastered that. And of course, who wants to live a life where you're not subscribed to a show like this so that every time a new one comes out, you get notified? I don't know. That person would be crazy to me, and I know you're not crazy because you watch the show. So please go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and let's get back to the episode. All right, Paul. So you have a really good focus on sales now. I remember that's a part we really talked about. And then from what I hear from Corbin, you took that really seriously. From what I heard, especially with the referral part. Is that correct?
Yep.
So what have you made changes to over this last year or so that you feel made a significant impact in where you were to where you are?
Well, this last year was significantly different, right, based on what was going on. So
right now we're filming, so everybody knows, this is now August 2021.
Yep.
So a year ago at this time, we were in the heat of it.
Yes, exactly. We were shut down as well a couple of months. We were doing online training, which was really hard.
And you're in San Diego, so
Yes.
California was super conservative with all this stuff.
Yep, exactly. So we installed a outdoor turf in the parking lot.
Okay.
I was able to get approval from the landlord. And we were able to still run classes that way. And that's really what saved the business, I think.
Right.
But besides that, before that, a big part of it was just putting processes in. And where do you start? Right? When you're taking over something like that. So it was everything from, how to answer the phone, like what you guys provide training on, sales systems, lead generation. I couldn't really afford to hire somebody else at that time just yet.
Right.
So just starting with that. And then the coaches that are there also, when they see that somebody cares, and that seems so basic. But when staff knows that somebody cares, that also means quite a bit. And then one step led to another.
So let's talk about the sales process. Do you have goals or targets for your people?
We do, yeah. We have primarily for our program director, and then for our coaching staff, there's a percentage of class capacity that I'd like to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I work for you. What are my goals? Do I have a certain amount of demos that I have to do per week, or calls that I have to make, or sales that I have to make, or per month? What are my targets if I work for you?
So for the program director who's responsible for sales, there's a monthly lead generation target that she has.
Okay.
Set, show, close. So there's conversion percentages for each of those as well. And if that's not happening every week, I've got a monthly scorecard that we keep track of. So every single day, we know what's happening in the business.
Oh, really? So every day they report the numbers back to you, or it's just up on a spreadsheet and everybody can look at it anytime?
Correct, exactly. Yep, it's just something online.
Okay.
So I can see what the numbers are, she can see what the numbers are, and then we can do something about it. So it's not like we wait till the end of the month and go, oh, look what happened this month.
Right, right.
So that's one piece of it. And then for our coaches, I like class capacity to be at least 80%.
Okay.
In terms of working with athletes.
Okay, if I work for you and it's not at 80% on average, do I just get a tough conversation? Am I not part of the company anymore? Do I get coached? What happens? And, how do you get me to get to 85, 90, or whatever that number is?
Well, first of all, I think it's my fault.
Yeah.
Because if I'm guiding the ship, then maybe I'm not providing them with enough training. And that's a philosophy that I have. And I think from doing this for the last 26 years, there's just different philosophies, different concepts that I've learned just from making mistakes on my own. And at the end of the day, it's my fault.
Yeah.
So
And you give them good training, right?
I would like to, yeah. So they're part of LRBT.
Okay.
So they've gone through, I've had 4 now go through level 1, 2, and 3 sales training.
So the beginner, intermediate, and advanced?
And advanced, exactly. And then Parisi has a lot of training as well. So why are we not tapping into that? So let's talk about that.
Right.
You know, I don't think it's a simple answer as in you're doing something really wrong. I think it's let's find out what's going on.
Got it.
Yeah.
When you're looking for you said a program director, right? Mm-hmm. When you're looking for a program director, which is yours doing a pretty good job right now?
Fantastic job.
Fantastic job. Okay.
Janae kills it.
So let's say Janique just decides, you know what, I'm moving to Bali. I'm chasing my dream of living in Bali. You got to find another program director. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic. So what are you looking for? What needs to be on the resume, or what needs to happen in the interview? How do you know if you're going to be able to replace her with somebody as good or better?
The first thing really is the cultural fit. So I want to make sure that this is a person that likes working with athletes, number one, that likes working with youth athletes, number two, is somebody that is good at looking at spreadsheets, is good at talking about marketing and sales, can speak to parents, can speak to athletes. So that's a good starting point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you go to interview them, do you have certain questions that you ask to find out if this person's got, because program director, AKA somebody that's going to be accountable for sales as well, I believe that there's 2 things you got to look for: competency and grit. Do you have the wiring to be a salesperson, and then some previous training already as a base? And then grit. You can have the wiring, but can you do this ongoing? Can you get rejected over and over without quitting? Maybe not necessarily the job, but quitting calling this person over and over, or quitting asking the tough questions, or whatever it is. So are there questions that you ask to measure someone's competency or grit in order to make sure that, hey, that's great, the resume says this, and it's great you like working with kids, but this job's tough, and I got to make sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah. I like to find out really if there's things that have not gone well for them in the past and how they took care of that. I don't think that you really get to know a person based off of a resume until you see how they go through a tough experience.
Right.
You know, I like spending time in the outdoors. I like backpacking. I like climbing. And anytime I take somebody backpacking, that's probably one of the most, for most people, it's one of the most uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
You're sleeping on the ground. There's, floaties in your water. There's just a lot of things that are not what you might be used to.
Right.
But how do you handle that, right? So I think in business, working with athletes, in sales, things don't go perfectly. What you were talking about, people might say no several times. Well, how does that person handle it? So I think this last year especially was a true test for all of us.
Yeah.
And not just simply somebody saying no to wanting to come in and try the place out, but there's just a lot of issues that come up. So at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is I want to see what this person's strengths are, number one. And at some point, I wonder how they handle tough situations.
Okay. And is there a question you ask in order to find that out? The tough situations one.
Yeah, so I like to dig into their background and as best I can find out experiences that they've gone through, or maybe other jobs that they've had, things that have not gone according to plan, any kind of curveballs that they might have gone through. And then eventually you kind of pick up bits and pieces. And I don't know if I have a perfect solution for it, but I think after doing this for all these years,
you've developed a gut.
You've got like a bit of a gut about it.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't feel like this person is right for the position, but they might be right to start training them for it. So they might start as an assistant, say, and then build up from there.
Got it. Very cool. I was talking to Corbin about you before you came on the show. And like I said, he says a lot of great things about you. He said you guys have generated a lot of organic leads recently.
Yeah.
And most of those were referrals, or where did they come from?
Yeah, both. So number one is referrals.
Okay.
We get quite a bit through our website, people just reaching out to us. But that didn't happen like that since day one.
Yeah.
That took about a year or so. And a lot of that actually happened because of our social media marketing.
Okay.
So that just created a lot of awareness. We've had people come in and say, oh, I saw your ads online. And then I was speaking to a friend of mine, and their son or daughter was coming over here. And so it was a combination of things. And then they might have gone through our website, clicked on something, and then came through.
You know, I'm so glad you said that because a lot of people don't think about that. You know, even in our company, and not just with us, but with our clients. You know, let's take us for example. Last month, if you just look at the leads that were generated from Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and you say, okay, total contract value that we got by signing them up, and then we compare that to the cost to sign them up, it's a loss. It looks like a loss. Now, that's not always like that. In many cases, we have a profit. That was just a weird month, but it doesn't matter. What matters is look at our organic leads that we've gotten and compare that to 6 months ago. And look how much that's gotten up. There's profit if there's even one on an organic lead, right? $1, right? Because you didn't pay for that. But we significantly surpassed the lifetime value that we've extracted from the organic than we did from the paid. When you take those two and combine it, it's a no-brainer. This was a great decision. We sometimes forget to think what the average person does. I don't know about you, Paul, but I've never been on Facebook, saw an ad, clicked on it, and bought. I've never done that. I've looked at stuff and I go, what is this? And then I'll go to Google, or I'll go to YouTube, or if it's a restaurant type thing, I may go to Yelp, right? Depends on what it is, but I'll look somewhere else. So let's say I saw Parisi Speed School. I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. Now, what's the company that's posting about it? Of course, it sounds like the best thing in the world. Let me go see what they're like. Go to your website. Now I go to your website and I check it out. And now I fill out the form, or now I call you. Hey, so how'd you hear about us? Some people might say, oh, it was just on your website. But it's
not.
How did you know that? How did you know? Did you just stumble across Parisi.com or whatever the URL is? No. You somehow heard of the company and you got there. Same thing. Oh, I found you on Yelp. But how? Oh, I found you on Google. But how? There was something that must have happened beforehand. And so awareness is so powerful. And before lead gen through Facebook and Instagram, that's really all marketing was awareness, getting people to get to the main thing, whether it's the store, physical store, or the site. And then from there, making a decision. So I'm glad you see that.
Each month I get a report from Google that lists the top 5 keywords that people use to look up your business. And you would think it'd be speed training or it'd be combine training.
It's Parisi.
It's actually Parisi Speed School.
How else would they know to search that?
And that's not something that's that common. That's a very unique name, right?
You've heard of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so for everyone watching and listening too, like just make sure you really are looking at that, because what I've heard some people say is it's backwards when you think about it, but to them it's forwards. They go, we're getting more business from organic leads. We're just going to stop our paid. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Your paid's getting you organic. It's going to do good for a month or two. So you're going to think you made a great decision. In 2-3 months, you're going to think organic sucks now. So you're going to have to go back to paid. And then this cycle continues.
That is my tried and true formula. So even before doing Parisi, when I was with the boutique concept, I used Loud Rumor, and I saw the same thing happen.
Really?
So initially, I would keep track of cost per lead. Do I still look at that? Yes, but that's not a big number to me anymore. It's not. If my cost per lead is a little bit higher, I'm okay with that. It's really the consistency of me running ads, changing up my copy, putting out new videos. Again, I don't have a perfect formula for it.
Right.
But as long as I'm consistently doing that, my name is getting out there. Our services are also out there. And a lot of people don't really know what we do. What is speed training? You know, it's a very niche market.
Yeah. And you know what too, Paul? Not only will you get organic from like Google and stuff like that, but how many of these leads, looks like organic, you got about 120 organic leads. How many of those were referrals? Or was that just organic and then you had referrals on top of that?
No, there were referrals within that 120. I would say that's about 50%.
50%. So
Yeah.
about 60 from referrals, right?
Yeah.
If you had half the paying clients that you have now, would it still be 60 or could it be 30?
Oh, if we had half the paying clients, you said?
Yeah, because you got referrals from your clients, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd probably have half the referrals.
Absolutely.
So when you are so good at getting referrals like you are, the more clients that you have, the more free leads you get later on every single month as well.
Yeah.
And well, you actively do it. So what are some things you do to in constantly get more referrals on a monthly basis?
So there's a couple of things. So number one is right when we have our staff make the phone calls for the evaluations, that's our first point of entry, so to speak. Every person that comes in has to go through a performance evaluation.
Okay.
They don't just come and take a free class or just jump into a personal training session. So that's number one. So when that call is made, we often ask them, hey, do you have a friend, sibling, or a teammate that would like to come in as well? And maybe the answer is no, but that's okay. At least that plant is, or that seed is planted. And then they come in. Then at the end of the evaluation, we'll say the same thing again. And then every 12 weeks, all our athletes go through another performance evaluation.
And you ask again.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Do you have a goal?
But that's all it is.
Yeah, asking.
Yes, that's it. So could I do more? I do have something printed up
Okay.
where we give prospects and we give parents that say when you refer somebody, you get 10% off the next month. When you refer 3, you get 30% off. When you refer 3 or more, you get 50% off. So it's really aggressive.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So with the amount of leads that you got and then business that you got, because you did 100 members or 109 members in 100 days. So that was the challenge, 100 and 100. Did a lot of that business come from referrals? The 109 members?
A decent number of it did. I don't know what the exact numbers are. I'll say one of the main things that led to the success of that program is when I first heard about it, I wanted some structure to it, like how we keeping track of this. So I just had a poster made up, a 24 by 36 poster. I drew it up on a spreadsheet, and then we designed it, and I had it printed. And I had it broken up into 10 weeks and just put it up in the office. And so every week you could tell how many we signed up, how many canceled, and then what our net was. That's it.
Wow.
Those 3 numbers. Really simple.
Yeah, I love that you take an extra step. See, that's one thing that I really like about you too, is you could just say, hey guys, this is what we're looking to do. But it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So you said, let's create a visual, let's create a game around it, let's something we can all track, we see it. You probably talked about it almost every day.
We did. So we have a weekly team meeting, and that's something that gets brought up every week.
Really?
Yeah.
How did your team like it? Did they like the idea of it?
Well, it was different for them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not something that they think about on a regular basis. So you've got to build momentum. Our program director was all in on it, and she was the main person that was responsible for it. But it doesn't mean that the other coaches are not involved as well, because they're involved in retention.
Right.
So they play a big role in it.
So a lot of successes. What's a failure that we should probably know about that you've learned from?
How much time do you have, Mike?
I said one.
There's quite a few.
Let's go with one, and then depending on the length of the story, we may go to 2 or 3.
Okay. Yep. Let's see.
But you had to have learned from it and adjusted in some way.
Yep. Sure. So a few years ago, so I first started out working in commercial clubs, and a few years ago, I was in the process of buying a commercial. I was running the club, and I was in the process of buying the club, and that fell through. And at that point, I was thinking, well, what do I do now? I was all in on that. And I didn't personal train much. I was doing just a little bit. I had one person that said, well, if you're not doing that, just train me. I'm like, okay. And I just happened to find a little bit of space in that town. There was about 500 square feet, maybe just a little bit bigger than this room.
Right.
And so I started training her, and then that grew. And then we just kept adding on. Then eventually, make a long story short, it got to about 6,000 square feet. We had group classes, we had personal training, we had different programs going on. And I lost it.
How'd you lose it?
Well, there's quite a few different things. I think when you grow, there's a lot of details that get swept under.
Especially in the very beginning when they're not that important.
Absolutely. And especially when it's just me. I had no business plan. I had nothing. I was bootstrapping this thing. And I was, in a way, winging it. And also part of it, I was cocky about it. Because I've been doing this for a long time. I'm like, I can create any system. It doesn't matter. But I never did it because I was so busy training. Or I was busy just trying to get people in the door.
Sales and service. That's all you focused on.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't have a lot of time to step out of the business, work on the business. I didn't have a lot of extra capital on it. But we kept seeing decent growth. I wasn't really keeping track of my payroll numbers. I got behind on my lease payments. And I thought, well, it's something I can catch up on. I remember there was... I had a fairly big role in that local community. I sat on 4 big boards, and there was a big chamber meeting, and I had all these awards for best business in town and so on. And there was a point after I shut the business down that I had previously sent all those certificates in to go get it framed. And the guy that did the framing called me and said, "Hey, this thing is ready." And I said, "I can't afford it now." It was like $120.
Wow.
I said, "No, hold off." And every time you call, I didn't let it go.
Right.
I picked it up. I would talk to him. And then one day he called me and he said, "I'm not calling to ask for money. Somebody paid for it." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, somebody that knew you that wants to stay anonymous said that you fall into hard times and they want you to have this." But going back to what you were talking about.
Who was it?
It was one of our former members.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And, but, there's a lot of details that get swept under, and I can't say enough about that, even in our growth now. Details matter. And so I got behind on monthly payments, and then eventually the landlord came calling. It's like there's only so long you can go, and I knew that my marketing plan, or at least I was confident that my marketing plan for the following month, I could bring in revenue, but you just can't keep doing it like that.
Yeah. When you first start a business, sales and service should be the main focus. But as that starts really getting to a point, you've got to, before you get to the point where you can't take anything else, you've got to really start focusing on those systems and those processes.
Yeah.
Because you see 2 ends of that spectrum. You see one where guys like you, right? You were like sales, service, I got this down. And you believe you have a system, but looking now, you know you didn't, right? And then you have other people that they create so many systems before they start making sales. They just, I got to have this, I got to have that. It's going to be perfect. And it's like, dude, just get a client. Just go get to 50 clients. Like, you need to have that because you're going to create the perfect system and you're going to run out of money.
And then on top of that, there's just so many lessons out of that, looking back. But like it was about 2.5 weeks before Christmas, I had to let everybody go. There were decisions I had made in the past where I just added programs or services on that I shouldn't have because it distracted me.
Right.
So there were just so many lessons from it.
Man.
I could write a book on it.
I know. Well, that's one thing that I remember when I first talked with you, you were pretty humble like that, which I knew you were going to be good in the program because of that. Unfortunately, in this industry, which you've met enough people in the industry already, there's a lot of people that already know what to do. They just need X to be better. X could be, I need my employees to be better. I need my manager to be better. I need the customers to be better. I need the market to be better. I need the economy to be better. I need my marketing agency to be better. I need something to be better. It's not me. I know what I'm doing, right? And I already know what I'm doing is like one of the biggest killers in business. That and what's the other one? We've always done it this way. That's the other phrase.
Yeah.
We've always done it this way. Business killing phrases, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when I first talked to you, you were like, well, what do you think we should be doing? Or what are some things that you would do differently? And I was like, okay, this guy gets it. He's not a typical fitness guy. He's a business guy that's in this fitness world. And he's just wanting to figure out the combination to this business that he's in right now. And I knew you were going to do well. I remember because of that, I did a deal with you I've never done with anyone. Now, I'm saying it publicly. So everyone that's watching, including our clients, know that I've never done this deal. So anyone comment on the video if you think I've done it for you too, all my clients, because I've never done it for anyone. You're the only one I did this for, because I believed you'd be able to get there where you were. What was your revenue at the time? I think you were like at 25 or something like that. Where were you at?
That sounds about right. We were growing, and I knew that we were on a good pace, but still we were not where we should be.
You were starting to get stuck a little bit.
Right, exactly.
And I said, hey, join this program, and you said it's more expensive than I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
And I think you said, I'll come back once I'm at this number. And it was like 33K or something like that. And I said, we'll get you there. And what was it? Was it that get you there first, or you pay and then I get you there? How did it work?
Yeah, there was a upfront fee.
I've literally never done it since, so I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah. There was an upfront fee to this that I said there was just no way I can do that. Okay. And that's when you came back with, well, what number? And I came up with that number. And I think it was 32 or 33. Yep. Something like that. And then you said, well, once you hit that number, then start making payments on it.
Right. And that was 33, and you're at 58 now?
Yep.
My man. I said it out there in the lobby, but thank you for not making me not get that payment by doing your job. And honestly, your take is better than mine anyway.
Yeah.
You made out better than me. Awesome, man. Well, hey, look, I know you're here because we have our big boot camp coming up.
Yep.
For everyone watching and listening, by the time you hear it, the boot camp's over. We're filming this on Friday. This probably episode will come out, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, McKenna? Yeah. So, but it's our big boot camp, and this one's on systems and scaling. I'm so excited. I actually might have you come up on stage for like 5 minutes just to talk about your philosophy on the organic and the social media and how they work together, because I think that's something a lot of people could really take away from. In fact, that's my favorite part. We'll probably turn that into a snippet, McKenna, because I think that was really good. I wish more people thought that way. You can't think in silos. You got to think holistically and in silos. And so I'm really glad. Other than that, Paul, man, thank you so much. You're crushing it. And I can't wait to watch your journey. And then as we get these other studios there, you mind if we have you back on the show again in the future?
Of course. I'd be happy to.
And we'll be at your studio soon enough.
Awesome.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for everybody watching. For everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.